أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ويسألونك عن ذي القرنين قل سأتلو عليكم منه ذكرا إنا مكنا له في الأرض وآتيناه من كل شيء سببا فأتبع سببا حتى إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس وجدها تغرب في عين حمئة ووجد عندها قوما قلنا يا ذا القرنين إما أن تعذب وإما أن تتخذ فيهم حسنا قال أما من ظلم فسوف نعذبه ثم يرد إلى ربه فيعذبه عذابا نكرا وأما من آمن وعمل صالحا فله جزاء الحسنى وسنقول له من أمرنا يسرا ثم أتبع سببا. These are verses from 83 to 89.
Prophet, they ask you about Dhul-Qarnayn. Say, I will tell you something about him. We established his power in the land and gave him the means to achieve everything. He traveled on a certain road. Then when he came to the setting of the sun, he found it setting into a muddy spring. Nearby he found some people, and we said, Dhul-Qarnayn, you may choose which of them to punish or show kindness to. He answered, we shall punish those who have done evil, and when they are returned to their Lord, he will punish them even more severely. While those who believed and did good deeds will have the best of rewards. We shall command them to do what is easy for them. He traveled on.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walahu ba'd. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us the story of Dhul-Qarnayn. After he taught, who basically traveled the world as a great king, spreading his kingdom, controlling the world, the known world at his time. After mentioning the story of Musa alayhi salam, who also traveled a long distance, but for the sake of learning and the sake of ilm. And the ulama rahimahullah said, mentioning the story of Musa and Al-Khadir before the story of Dhul-Qarnayn, even though he never was asked about the story of Al-Khadir, he was asked about Dhul-Qarnayn. But he mentioned the story of Musa before Dhul-Qarnayn to show you the superiority of knowledge over kingdom, over power, the real power in knowledge. And the story of Musa is higher in higher level than the story of Dhul-Qarnayn, because it's about learning and knowledge and seeking knowledge. While this one, it's about spreading, yes, truth and power over the earth. The people of Quraysh asked the Prophet ﷺ about Dhul-Qarnayn. How the people of Quraysh know about Dhul-Qarnayn? The Jews asked them to ask the Prophet ﷺ about Ar-Ruh, the soul, about Dhul-Qarnayn, about the people of the cave. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered them in Surah Al-Kahf in relation to Dhul-Qarnayn and the people of the cave. As for Ar-Ruh, Allah answered in the Surah Al-Isra. They say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَسْأَلُونَكَ. They ask you, okay? But when it comes to Musa and Al-Khadir, listen carefully. When it comes to Musa and Al-Khadir, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us so. He didn't say, they ask you about Musa or Al-Khadir, but obviously because they never asked. But here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even when they ask about the people of Kahf, was not started with يَسْأَلُونَكَ. Here started يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنْ Dhul-Qarnayn. They ask you about Dhul-Qarnayn, is to give a hint to tell the Jews, you're asking about Dhul-Qarnayn, you should have asked about Musa, who is part of your religion. If there is anything you should ask about, it should be the story of Musa, because he's from your religion. You're more familiar with his stories than anyone else. And because the lessons from the story of Musa is too many, and Al-Khadir too many, comparing to the lessons from what? from Dhul-Qarnayn. That's why if you're going to see, the story of Dhul-Qarnayn is still very short versus the lengthy story of Ahl al-Kahf and the Musa and al-Khadr. It's way longer than the story of Dhul-Qarnayn. Because they're asking and they're putting so much emphasis on it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as if He's telling them, there is no much benefit of your story as much as you will benefit from the story of Musa alayhi salam. Also, it shows you that those people, their question was not for the sake of hidayah. Yani when they said, Ya Musa, tell us about the story of Dhul-Qarnayn, not because seeking guidance, seeking ibar, seeking lessons, seeking things that they can benefit from it, from the story of Dhul-Qarnayn. If they were seeking lessons and guidance, they should have asked about Musa alayhi salam, who is related to them. And because he related to Muhammad sallallahu more than Dhul-Qarnayn related to the Prophet sallallahu. Their question was examining and trying to embarrass the Prophet sallallahu. They have doubt about the prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu, and they thought through this question they will expose the Prophet sallallahu. Also, I like how the verb is a verb of continuously, like yas'alunaka, they asking you with ing. That makes you feel that so excited. Makes you feel that they're like, oh, we got it. Like we got the question that's gonna show that Muhammad sallallahu knows nothing about, he's not a prophet. And also, it shows you that as if they asked the Prophet ﷺ several times, that's right? يَسْأَلُونَكَ, يعني as if it's repeated. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calmed them down. سَأَتْلُ عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْهُ ذِكْرًا. I will, basically the answer came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in an amazing way. Say, I will recite to you about him ذِكْرًا. They translated what? They translated report? Is that how he translated it? I will tell you something about him. That's the problem with translation. It doesn't give you full meaning. What's dhikra means? What's dhikra? Come on. Ibrah, lessons. Also dhikra, memory. Memory of a story of things happened in the past, that's right? But Al-Arab usually refer to dhikra, to the memory that there is benefit in it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I will tell you from the story of Dhul-Qarnayn what is beneficial to you. Why? Because the Quran is not a history book to talk about the life of kings and because his life as a king has so many things, like from the time he was born until he became a king. And all the battles and all the things, that's not important. Al-Quran doesn't care for these details. That's why Allah said, I will only tell you from his life story what's considered lesson, what's considered dhikra, what's considered ibrah. And dhikra, kida nukirat, a lesson. That tell you, he's not going to tell you much, just a little bit, something about him that it will benefit you. Remember, when the people of the cave, what Allah said about them? Did He say ذكرى? لا. نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق. We tell you the story of the people of the cave. In the people of the cave, He gave the whole entire story. Because that's full of story. But the story of kings are not all necessarily to be something that you will benefit from. Also, Dhul-Qarnayn lived a long life, lived different type of lives, and he had so many things that he involved in. Peace, war, traveling, and all the weird things that he saw and witnessed in his traveling and exposed to. Who's Dhul-Qarnayn? What's Dhul-Qarnayn? Okay, the word Dhul-Qarnayn, indeed, we establish Dhul-Qarnayn. What's Dhul-Qarnayn? Where this name came from? Qarnayn, it means horns, that's right. That's some people said that. Or Al-Arab, they say, anything like in the horn where it grows, in this part of the head, that's right? So that's why if you braid your hair, 2 braids, Al-Arab, they call this qarn, because it's in the same place. So when women have 2 braids like this, or a man in the old days make 2 braids, they cut, he is Dhul-Qarnayn. Yani he has 2 qarn, 2 horns. But it's not actual horn, he's not a devil or a goat. He's just hair. So some said because he had a ghadiratan, 2 braids, and that's why he was called Dhul-Qarnayn. Some said, no, Dhul-Qarnayn, it's because when he started his life and tried to give da'wah to his people in the beginning of his life, they beat him up on his qarnayn, on his head in these 2 areas. And these basically kind of, because of the hitting, they became swollen a little bit. So he looks like someone has 2 lumps. Okay? So they call him Dhul-Qarnayn because of that. Some said no, as actually he got these 1 lumps in the one side, then they hit him on the other side, the other lumps come, and he died, then Allah resurrected him again. So after that, they said, oh, Allah resurrected the one with the 2 lumps, like the 2 horns. But there is no proof for that. Also, they said Al-Qarnayn, the 2 horns, because he controlled Persia and Rome, Europe and Asia. And these like the 2 horns of the world. Okay? Some said no, because he traveled to the east and to the west. Same thing, very similar to the one before. And some said, actually, the word qarn comes from qarn, it means century. Also, khayrul qurun qarni, the best of generation is my generation. So al-qarn, it means the generation, the century where a generation lived. They said because he lived 2 generations. He lived long life and he witnessed 2 generations, so that they were Dhul-Qarnayn, yani the one who lived and he witnessed 2 different generations. Okay? And some said no, as a matter of fact, he had metal pieces in his head, okay? And when people see him from a distance, it shines and it looks like someone has horns, because he has actual little pieces of metals in his head. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. We really don't know where all these, if these like opinions based on it. The most, what it seems to be linguistically make more sense is the one that he has 2 braids of hair. That will be, sometimes they roll it on their heads like this, sometimes just let it on the side. So that's linguistically is the strongest opinion, in my opinion. Allah knows best. Mujahid said, the one who were able to rule the world are 4 kings in history. 2 believers and 2 disbelievers. The 2 believers were Sulaiman and Dhul-Qarnayn. And the 2 disbelievers were Bukhta-Nassar and Nimrud ibn Kan'an. Bukhta-Nassar is the great Babylon, the king of Babylon, and Nimrud, the king in the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Anyway, some said Dhul-Qarnayn was a prophet. Some people suggested that Dhul-Qarnayn was a prophet. And it doesn't seem to be a prophet at all. As Ali radiallahu anhu ibn Abi Talib said, he was not a prophet, he was not an angel, because some people said he's an angel actually. He's not a prophet, he was not a prophet, he was not an angel. He was a servant of Allah, loved Allah, and Allah loved him. He was sincere with Allah, and Allah was sincere with him. Okay? Those who said that he was a prophet, because Allah said in the Quran, فَقُلْنَا يَا ذَا الْقَرْنَيْنِ, we told him, Dhul-Qarnayn, this and that. So because Allah spoke to him, it means he's a prophet. But that doesn't mean necessarily that Allah spoke to him directly. He doesn't speak to him with a message. What make you a prophet when Allah speaks to you with a message? Okay, with the Sharia, with the law, we send you with a book. That's why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the children of Israel, وَقُلْنَا لَهُمُ ادْخُلُوا الْبَابَ سُجَّدًا, we told the children of Israel, enter the door while you're making sujood. وَقُلْنَا لَهُمْ لَا تَعْتَدُوا فِي السَّبْتِ, we told them, don't transgress on the Sabbath. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَى, we revealed to the mother of Musa. Didn't make all those people prophets and messenger because Allah told them something. What kind of king he was, we really don't know. And I'm not gonna go into the details of how the interpreter of the Quran, the Mufassirin, went in so much details that sometimes you surprise why all this. Some said he was a Persian king. Some said he was an Egyptian, one of the pharaohs, the great pharaohs. Some said he was a Greek. Some said he was a Roman king. Okay? And there is no benefit from all this. I'm not going to go into the details and the evidence of each opinion, but all this has been said. Some people said he is the great, he's Alexander the Great. He's Alexander the Great. So many people said that. And they said his assistant was the famous philosopher Aristo. What do you call him? Huh? Or Aristotle. They said this was his assistant. And that's where he get his wisdom from. But that's absolutely false. Aristotle was not a person of Tawheed. He was a mushrik wathani. He was not a believer at all. So he cannot be that man. As well as Alexander the Great, he was not known as a person of piety or even a faith of believing in God. As Shaykh al-Islam rahimahullah ta'ala, that's absolutely false. Because when you read the story and the history of Alexander the Great, you will definitely know that they came in completely different eras. Ibn Ashur said something very strange. He's a great mufassir, but sometimes people come with strange things, even they are great people. Ibn Ashur, he said he was a Chinese king, and he's the one who built the Great Wall of China. Okay? And basically, he said that this is the Great Wall of China, is the king of, he is that king, the Chinese king. The Great Wall of China cannot be that wall that Allah spoke about in the Quran. For a simple reason. For a very simple reason. Just look at the picture, Google the Great Wall of China, look at the picture of the wall. You will know that this has nothing to do with the wall that's built by Dhul-Qarnayn. Because Dhul-Qarnayn built his wall with metal. While the Great Wall of China is not built by metals. Just as simple as that, just by looking at the picture, you would know it's not true. Sometimes people just don't, I can understand in the old days they said Great Wall of China because they never saw it. But today, no, we can see it. You can even have a live image from it in a Google Earth today. And some said because of that the nation that he was trying to block are basically the Mughal and the Chinese, everything beyond that wall, the Mughal, the one who lived in central China. And among the people who said that, Sa'di rahimahullah is a great mufassir in Saudi mufassir, lived in Saudi Arabia not long time ago. And he mentioned that, and it seems to be that he changed his opinion in the end of his life. He said that this is the Chinese, the Mughal, all Far East and Middle and Central Asia, as well, he said, as Eastern Europeans and Europeans as well, Ya'juj wa Ma'juj. So one nation is Ya'juj and another Ma'juj. So he said these are the Ya'juj wa Ma'juj. But that's not strong at all, and it's a very weak opinion if you just examine this opinion with what's in the Quran and Sunnah and how the Quran speaks about it. Because the Prophet said they are basically isolated. And every day they try to make a hole in that wall and to exit, and Allah returned the wall basically solid again. Whatever they were able to dig, it will disappear by the next day. That's not how the case with these nations. Sayyid Qutb even said something more stranger than that. much, very weird. Sayyid Qutb said that Ya'juj and Ma'juj already happened. It's when the Mughal came and the Tatar came and they destroyed Baghdad. And he said that's what it is. But not only Sayyid Qutb said that, to be fair with the man, because some people attacked him so bad. There is other people said that as well. For instance, the famous scholar of Al-Azhar has a very famous tafsir, Tafseer al-Maraghi. His name Ahmad Mustafa al-Maraghi. He died 1952. Very well known, respected scholars. Has a book of tafsir, 8 volumes. Very good book in tafsir. Said the same thing. And the greatest scholar of tafsir among Ahl al-Sham, one of my favorite scholars actually, his name Muhammad Jamaluddin al-Qasimi, if you ever heard of this name. Jamaluddin al-Qasimi have a beautiful book in tafsir, one of its kind. It's called Mahasin al-Ta'wil. 12 volumes, big book. And he also wrote one of the most amazing modern days books in Ulum al-Hadith. He died in 1914, rahimahullah ta'ala. Those people also said the same thing. But as you see, these opinions are really not a very strong opinion. And I think the person should not rush to make a call like that and claim that this particular nation is what the Prophet ﷺ or what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala meant. We don't know really what is the deal with Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and we'll talk more about them in a little bit. In the Quran, doesn't care much for the names, doesn't care for the detail information. Great kings, their names will be forgotten, but their actions will always be remembered. The great contributions will be always remembered more than the names. Okay? So people will say, oh, this happened, this and that. In Egypt, for example, they always think about the dome that built by Abdel Nasser. Maybe in young generation, they don't know who this president was, but they know something good he did. Great things done by people always be remembered, even if the name is forgotten. Many of the young generation here in Houston today, they don't know a great man lived in this city by the name of Sheikh Rashad, Khalil rahimahullah ta'ala. But everybody knows one of his great contribution to the city of Houston through that Hakim Alajwan building. So you might not remember the name, but you remember the great things that happened. You don't know who built ICNA, who started ICNA or ISNA or MSA. Names are, but you know that there's a great thing done by someone. So great contributions always will remain, because that's what really the lessons comes from. That's why the Quran focuses on the action, on the contribution, on the legacy, more than the person who made that legacy. So one of the benefits of this style in the Quran, that the heart will not be attached to the individual, it will be attached to the actions. حتى لا تتعلق القلوب بالأشخاص. So the hearts will not be always attached to a person, but it attached to the action, to the contribution, to the legacy. You live for something bigger than yourself. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, إِنَّا مَكَّنَّا لَهُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Indeed, we established him upon the earth, and we gave him to everything away. وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا. So he followed away. Here, we gave him a great kingdom, and we aided him with all the means that it will make him a great kingdom. Can someone of you guys tell me what will make a great king a great king? What will make a king a great king? Wisdom. So he's a wise person. What else Allah gave him? السبب آتيناه من كل شيء سبب. All the sabab, the means that make someone great king. His justice, power, very good. Power, can you explain what power means? Army, big army, huge army. What else? Benevolence, generosity. What else can make someone great king, strong king? Huh? Fair, justice. How about resources? How about knowledge? How about technology? How about weapons? How about great followers? Can anybody tell me where we know that he has a great followers? Became Trump today. Great. I use the word great like every 2 words. Okay. So where we get the great followers from? He has such dedicated followers. Come on, guys. He traveled them from the far east to the far west, and they followed him. You need a really dedicated people to follow you to the farthest point east, to the farthest point. And guess what? He went with them to a place which is completely unknown, which is the place of Ya'juj wa Ma'juj, where he built the wall and the dam. That's right. So those people, very dedicated. A great king will have people always willing to follow, always willing to be basically supporting him wherever destiny he goes. So he got all the means that make him a great king. Isn't that remind you of another king? Is a queen actually. Allah mentioned the same thing about her. وَأُوتِيَتْ مِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Saba, the queen of Sheba. The queen of Sheba. He said, and we give him from all things. Yani all things that will make her a great queen. Sababa, some also ulama said, means here, no. It means, وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا. We given him from everything sabab. Amin. Ibn Abbas said, we gave him knowledge of everything. He is very knowledgeable in the area of construction, in the area of leadership, in the area of war, in the languages. He goes to the farthest west and he communicates. He goes to the farthest east and he communicates. He goes to those people who cannot even speak and be understood, and he was able to understand them and he communicated with them. He said that's a mastering. So that's why Ibn Abbas and Mujahid and Ikrimah said, ilm. Qatada said, Allah gave him the knowledge of the earth. He knows how to, the knowledge of navigation the earth. يَعْلَمُ مَنَازِلَ الْأَرْضِ. He knows how to navigate through earth very well. He didn't have a Google Earth. He didn't have Waze. But he knows how to navigate himself very well, and the story shows that. Abdurrahman ibn Zayd said, Allah gave him the knowledge of tongues. He speaks many languages. وَكَانَ لَا يَغْزُو قَوْمًا إِلَّا كَلَّمَهُمْ بِلِسَانِهِمْ. He will not approach a people unless he will speak to them with their own tongue. You can see these scholars brought this interpretation from studying the story in general. That's why Ibn Abbas made the most general statement. He said, knowledge of everything. فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. So he followed a way. Yani he followed the way that would lead him to his destination. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, until when he reached the setting of the sun, he found it as if it's sitting in a spring of dark mud. And he found near it a people. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, حتى إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس, يعني the farthest point he can travel to the west on earth, because I don't want somebody to act smart. He said, oh, so he traveled all the way to the west in the space? Some people said, oh, he has a space shuttle and he flew like all the way to the west. He flew all the way to the sun. No. يعني بلغ مغرب الشمس في الأرض. He reached where the sun sets on this earth. Okay? Because believe it or not, some stories from the people of the book, it says that he flew into the sky and he saw what does this sun actually go in the space and all this, like no base. And he found the sun disappear in the water, in the ocean. Okay? Ibn Kathir, Ibn al-Jawzi, rahimahullah ta'ala, said that basically he reached either to the farther west in Europe or in Africa, to the farther west, North Africa, and that's where he see disappear in the water. Because these are the known world at that time. Ibn Ashur said not necessarily that he traveled all the way to the ocean, because any place you stay, you travel a distance to the known land at that time, and when the sun disappears in front of you, khalas, disappear. And he said maybe it was a lake or something. But what it seems from the Quran, that it is swallowed by the water. And that's exactly, if you look at every sunset, looking to the ocean in the sunset, you see the water like as if the water, if it's drowning in the water. وَجَدَهَا تَغْرُبُ فِي عَيْنٍ حَمِئَةٍ. Basically setting off and going down in that water. What's عين حمئة? Al-hama in a spring. A spring, it doesn't mean a spring like a lake or oasis. Spring, it can refer to any water, okay? So even ocean, you can call it spring. Linguistically, it is possible. But here the word hami'ah, it could mean one of two things. Because al-hama, it means mud, الطين. إني خالق بشرا من صلصال من حمأ مسنون. يعني من طين. Okay? والحمأة in Arabic language also means the hot spring. The hot spring. So, that's why Ibn Abbas said, في عين حامية, أي حارة. Okay? Why it is hot? They said maybe because the sun hit the water for a long period of time, and that will make the water warm water. Okay? So it means here it disappeared in a warm water. Also, it could be dark. Dark, like the mud is dark, because the ocean is so deep and far. Like if you look at the ocean, is so dark. I don't know if you guys notice, when you're close to the shore, the water is light. But the farther you go out in the water, the darker the ocean is. So it's really disappear in something very dark. And when he reached basically at that point where the sun set, he found in that area a great nation of people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to him that he should engage with them. Either engage by fighting them if they fight him, or he be good to them. And that shows you that those people were not believers, were not good people. Because if they good people, why Allah would tell him punish them? That's right. Allah would not give that option to him. But because they were not good people, Allah gave him the option. إِمَّا أَن تُعَذِّبْ. Allah said, Dhul-Qarnayn, either you punish them or else adopt among them a way of goodness. So that means they were not believers. Then he said, this is the wisdom. As for one who wrongs, we will punish him. Then he will be returned to his Lord, and he will punish him with a terrible punishment. But as for the one who believes and does righteousness, he will have a reward of paradise, and we will speak to him from our command with ease. Okay. And that shows you that he is fair, he's wise, that he's a believer, a person of faith. So he divided this nation to two groups. Those who disobey Allah, those who reject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who transgress, those who are arrogant, and he will punish them. And he punished them with fighting them, and that maybe will lead them to die. And when they die, they go to the hereafter, where the great, terrible punishment they will face. As for those who accept the truth, who've been guided, the true reward for them is not worldly reward, it's Jannah. And that's a very important point here, that we always know that the reward of being righteous is not in the dunya. Don't expect a reward for righteousness in the dunya. It's in the akhirah, because nothing is real righteousness so valuable in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's eyes, and the great reward for it will be in that dunya, in the akhirah, in the hereafter. In the dunya, you take a little bit. That's why he said, we will tell him something to make him happy, make him in ease. Then, basically, after he finished with them, Allah ordered him now to travel to the farthest point east, from the west all the way to east. حتى إذا بلغ مطلع الشمس, until when he come to the rising of the sun, he found it rising on people from whom we had not made against it any shield. What that means? Basically, he found people. Did we read that part or not yet? Huh? No, you didn't read it, that's right. طيب. So, when he arrived, حتى إذا بلغ مطلع الشمس وجدها تطلع على قوم لم نجعل لهم من دونها سترا وقد أحطنا بما لديه خبرا ثم أتبع سببا حتى إذا بلغ بين السدين وجد من دونهما قوما لا يكادون يفقهون قولا. Until when he come to the rising of the sun, he found it rising on a people from whom we had not made against it any shade or shelter. And we had encompassed all that he had in knowledge. Then he followed away. So he came to the farther east, and he found those people live in a land flat, no mountains, no big trees, no even what? Buildings. They don't have even homes and buildings. That means they live in the desert. That made a lot of people think that maybe he went to the Mughal who live in the Tibt and these areas. Until today, they live in desert and they live in tents. They don't have constructions, they don't have, and it's desert area. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said here that Allah encompasses all that he had in knowledge. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge of everything happening in the world. So Dhul-Qarnayn, with all the knowledge that he has, he didn't know anything about the people in the east and the people of the west. But Allah knows that about it. Allah knows about the story of Dhul-Qarnayn. Allah knows about his soldier. Allah knows about his way. Allah knows about his journey. Allah knows about these nations that scatter all over the face of this earth. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, very short, he didn't give any detail. Because the point is, al-ibra, dhikra, lesson. Then he said, and he followed the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him to continue his journey. And he left the far east, where we don't know. But he left that area. Why we know that he left this area? Because the new area that he arrived in has mountains, while the far east has no mountains. So it's a completely different area now, and very far away from the first one. Otherwise, why people will leave the mountain, live in flat land? Anyway, so he reached to this area where he found two mountains, and in between the two mountains there is either a cave, either a hole, like kind of sinkhole, big huge sinkhole. It is something where in between the two mountains the people of Ya'juj wa Ma'juj comes out. حتى إذا بلغ بين السدين. السدين يعني الجبلين. When he reached between السدين, when he reached between the two mountains, وجد من دونهما قوما لا يكادون يفقهون قولا. Until when he reached a pass between two mountains, he found beside them a people who could hardly understand his speech, or hardly they can understand what those people saying. طيب. As-Sadd comes from mountain. Anybody knows what Sadd means? Ammar, what Sadd means? Dam. That's right. Why we call it dam? Dam. Why we call it dam? Blocks. Very good. So it blocks something. العلماء يقولون السد هو الذي يسد الفضاء والجبل يسد الفضاء. So it blocks something. That's why the mountain blocks the basically the thing, block you from seeing what's behind it. So the same concept. That's why the mountain in Arabic language we call it sadd. They cannot لا يكادون يفقهون or قرئت يفقهون. You can two recitation يفقهون or يفقهون. يفقهون يعني you cannot understand Dhul-Qarnayn. يفقهون, they cannot explain to Dhul-Qarnayn what they want. So you cannot hear, you cannot understand what they're saying, and they cannot understand what you're saying. Okay? And they said, even though did Dhul-Qarnayn manage to communicate with them? Absolutely. Because of the knowledge that he has. They told him, they said, Dhul-Qarnayn, indeed, Ya'juj wa Ma'juj, Gog and Magog, are great corruptors in the land. So, may we assign for you and basically a reward, and that you make that you might make between us and them a barrier. He said, that in which my Lord has established me is better, what Allah given me is better one you offer, but assist me with the strength, and I will make between you and them a dam. He told him about these two nations that comes from this place between the two mountains, either a valley, either a huge cave, something like strange. Okay, Ya'juj wa Ma'juj or Ya'juj wa Ma'juj. What's Ya'juj wa Ma'juj? In Arabic, is this a word that has meaning in Arabic? Some people said it comes from Ad-Jannar, when the blaze of the fire. Okay, when you start the fire and the blaze comes and the sparks come with the fire. So why we call them Ya'juj wa Ma'juj? He said because when the fire sparks, it goes everywhere, and those people go everywhere. Okay. Some said no, it's not an Arabic word at all, has no roots for it. Corrupter. They said corrupter because they used to be, some of the Mufassirin said, they used to do the same act of the people of Lut. They were a homosexual. Some people, corrupter, said because they used to eat people. They were cannibal. Some people said because when they leave their place and they go out, they will not leave anything green unless they eat it. And they will not leave anything dry unless they collect it. They take it with them. So when they eat everything in the tree, they take even the trunks to take it with them to build with it, whatever they use it. And they said because they used to kill people. طيب? And they hurt people a lot. So they offered him kharja, يعني a great amount of money. Okay? If you can make that wall between them, then with humble, so humility, he said, I will do what Allah will help me to do. He didn't say, oh, I can't do it. He said, no, what Allah will help me and aid me to do, I will be able to do it. ما مكنني فيه ربي خير فأعينوني, help me. Okay? So that shows you that this person was not an arrogant person. And he said, I don't want anything from your money. Allah has blessed me with wealth. So he's not a greedy king. That shows you that his journey and in the earth, not to increase his income. Not because he's looking for money. Otherwise he would have taken money from them. So it's not like the rest of the kings. And he said, just أعينوني بقوتكم. Give me strength. What strength he need from them? Workers, he need tools, he need materials. Provide this for me and we will work together. Also see the spirit of working together. Then he told them, Atuni zubar al-hadid. bring me sheets of iron. الزبر جمع زبرة وهي القطعة الكبيرة. Big sheets. Okay? That's why, for those who just enjoy Arabic language and know the details of it, the big hair around the lion's head, يقال هذا زبرة الأسد. The hair of the lion, we call the زبرة الأسد. Why? Because big pieces around his head. So zabr, it means something, big pieces. That's why we call the book what? We call the book what? زبور. لأنه زبر بمعنى جمع. When you collect things together. Okay? So he basically bring pieces of iron. Then he said, he cut it and he put them next to each other. Above. So one sheet, put it above each other's. Okay? Until he filled what is in between the two mountains. Can you imagine how long this will take? How much work that you bring all this iron and you make it sheets until you fill what's between the two mountains. And not only you filled it exactly the length and the width. حتى إذا ساوى بين الصدفين. Basically between the two mountains walls. And sawa, it means equal. Equal in the length, so they are very high to be in the same level of the mountains. And they filled everything in between the mountains. You will imagine all these layers of metals and iron will be enough? He said, no, not enough. قال انفخوا حتى إذا جعله نارا قال آتوني أفرغ عليه قطرا. When after he put all these layers, okay, and by the way, making it sawa, making it equal, make it not crooked, leveled. It shows you that this is a strong building. If anybody in construction here knows, if you have a crook, basically wall, it will fall quickly. That's right. The more you go up, it will quickly fall. But if it's leveled fine, it will go higher. Then anyway, he put between the layers of the iron charcoals and woods. Then he brought munfakh al-kir, which is basically the bellows, basically to blow air, and he started the fire. So when the fire started, what happened to the metal? The iron started melting, and when it became hot, before it melted, and when it was very hot, he brought copper, and he put the copper, he melted the copper, and he put it on the top of that iron. So basically, whatever space between the iron sheets filled with that melting copper. And some said al-rasas, which is the what's al-rasas, Shaykh Kamal? Lead. The lead. He put the lead in between them. So can you imagine the combination of these three things? And he put it until it cooled down, and it became so solid. That's why it became so solid and it became so smooth. Lead and copper, metal, sheet of metal became what? So smooth and so solid. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the people of Ya'juj wa Ma'juj could not make a hole through it, nor could climb it. It's very smart basically idea. And they could not jump over it because it's high. They couldn't find any area to sneak because it's complete between the two mountains. Couldn't make a hole in it because it's very solid. Couldn't even climb it because it's very slippery. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala فَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا أَن يَظْهَرُوهُ وَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا لَهُ نَقْبًا. They could not. فَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا استطاعوا. Istita'u has ta, extra letter, it means extra effort. Because making a hole, it makes a lot of effort. While climbing or jumping, it's just one act. They couldn't do that. فما استطاعوا أن يظهروه لأنها قفزة واحدة, to jump over it because it's very high and it's, it's very slippery, and they could not dig in it a hole. استطاعوا له نقبا. Anyway, after he finished with this great wall, what did he say? قال هذا رحمة من ربي. يا سلام, يا زين الإيمان والتواضع. So beautiful when you're a believer. This is a mercy from my Lord. So that's a mercy from my Lord. Not me, not like, I'm the one who did it, a great job. No. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and when the promise of my Lord comes, He will make it level, and ever is promised of my Lord, and ever is the promise of my Lord true. وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي حَقًّا. Inshallah ta'ala, next week we will continue our talk. I thought about lessons from the story of Dhul-Qarnayn, and I came up with 19 points. So next time, inshallah, we'll talk about it, and we will see what kind of lessons that you guys can come up with next week, inshallah ta'ala. جزاكم الله خير والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.